Man, this reboot of Small Wonder is really dark. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. Spooky season continues with a look at the Ultimate M3GAN by NECA. Starting with the packaging, and if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, NECA boxes are the best. The front flap is the movie poster. Isn't that the way Tesla does their e-photo and logos on the spine? She's looking particularly sinister here. And then the back has a wonderful collage showcasing all the different accessories. And then the inside flap has a much larger product shot and a window. And if you saw the movie, you'd know that M3GAN spends a lot of time staring out of windows. These figures are called Ultimate for a reason, and that definitely includes the boxes as well. For packaging, I'm giving M3GAN an excellent 5 points. Moving on to presentation, and M3GAN stands at about 5 3/8 inches, or roughly 14 centimeters. Costume-wise, and M3GAN wears a basic tan dress. It's sculpted, of course, but all the seams and pleats are very nice. And not only is the skirt roomy enough for articulation, but NECA did include some slits in the sides. Otherwise, she has her big bow. The stripes have been nicely painted. And speaking of stripes, she has striped sleeves running down her arms. Her shoes are blue and gold to match the tie. I know this sounds crazy because this is actually a toy, but the figure does have that plastic, toy-like feel. And while the hair is kind of flatly sculpted, it does capture her style. And I do really like the shading. Stepping back, and it adds a nice sense of depth. Comparing her to the box, and I almost feel like she should be a bit more orangey. But then you look at the picture over on the spine, which is more natural light, and yeah, they got it. As usual, NECA nailed this likeness. And for a character like this, who's a bit more basic in her design, I feel like that's more of a challenge. For presentation, I'm giving M3GAN 5 points. Moving on to Poseability, and it could be argued that articulation is the weakest part of a NECA figure. That, however, is only because they prioritize their sculpt and appearance over Poseability, and opt for their joints being as discreet as possible. That said, and even by NECA standards, this figure does offer some unique challenges. First and foremost, the hair. She can look up about this far, which to be honest is better than I expected. She can also look down a bit. No real meaningful tilt, of course, and side to side is a bit hindered as well. Moving down in the next articulation obstacle are these poofy sleeves. Alas, she can only raise her arm this high. I originally thought there might have been a bicep swivel here, but that doesn't appear to be the case. If you've had more luck with that though, sound off in the comments. But that's okay, because M3GAN does have single-jointed swivel elbows. They do get a little bit better than 90 degrees, and of course her doll-like hands are on swivel hinge wrists. I'm not entirely sure what's going on under here, but I think she has a diaphragm joint and a ball-jointed waist. She can arch back this far and hunch forward this far, and since M3GAN's got a den, she does have a great amount of tilt, and also twist. She does have ball-jointed hips and can only kick this high, but remember these slits? Thanks to those, she can split this wide. She also has twist in the hip, along with single-jointed swivel knees, and ankles that can hinge, and like M3GAN's personality from scene to scene, pivot. M3GAN herself might be made of titanium, but NECA figures most certainly are not. Always make sure to warm up their joints, especially for a character with small, delicate limbs like this. For Poseability, I'm giving M3GAN 3 points. Moving on to Playability, and this is where a NECA Ultimate really shines. That said, some of these accessories are pretty spoilery. Some things, like the paper cutter blade, are in the trailer, so I don't mind talking about those, but there are other parts that will require a bit more conversation. I promise I will warn you before we get there, and will offer you a timestamp so you don't have to be spoiled if you haven't seen the movie yet. Starting with something safe, and M3GAN comes with a slew of hand options. Throughout the video so far, we've been looking at these basic relaxed ones. M3GAN also has this set. The right hand is relaxed, though the left one is definitely for holding something. Here's a slightly more open, grabby right hand. Notice this one has side-to-side articulation, suggesting to me that this one is meant for the paper cutters. You know, those Jason Voorhees brand paper cutters? The bloody one is identical except for the, blood. Man, this reboot of Small Wonder is really dark. There's also a hammer, which I don't think should count as a spoiler. For real, I saw the movie and I don't even remember a hammer. Really good detail on that though, and the paint job is very lifelike. You could put it in this hand, but I think it's actually a bit on the loose side. It fits pretty well in that accessory holding left hand though. Additionally, there's yet another accessory holding right hand I think works pretty well with this. That one is also pretty good for this screwdriver, and until I talk about spoilers, that's all I'm going to say about that. There's also one more accessory holding hand, and given that it's the tightest grip and the smallest accessory, I'm assuming that this is also for the screwdriver. Here's another right hand for a trigger finger. That can only be for one thing. Nail gun! Listen, there's a nail gun in the movie. Personally, I also don't think this counts as a spoiler. At the end of the day, it's just a nail gun, and like always, NECA has done a really good job on it. The nice thing about NECA figures is you could literally just get them for the accessories and use these as miniatures for other figures. Here's Megan holding that with her right-handed trigger. That said, it fits just fine in our one left-handed accessory holding hand. Same thing with the machetes. I mean paper cutters. Moving on, and Megan's head is removable. That connects via a ball joint in the base of the neck. She does come with this alternate expression. Not entirely sure what to call this. Maybe sad or worried. If only I could read emotions like Megan. In general, I think I would have preferred an angry or mischievous head, but this is fine. And with that said, I think it's time to give you that spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the movie yet and don't want anything ruined for you, skip ahead to this time code. Still here? Great. Next, and let's talk about the battle-damaged head. This comes from the climactic finale of the movie where Gemma hits her with the hedge trimmers. Huge swaths of hair have been ripped away, and the rest of it's looking pretty messy. Aw, you made her mascara run. Of course, that's to say nothing about the giant gashes in her forehead and cheek. When I said I wish we had an angry expression, this is what I was talking about. It almost makes me wish they give us another Megan. That one could give us a regular angry head, and I know this might make me sound like a hypocrite, but I wouldn't mind a regular head with this side eye. Beyond that, maybe she could come with that sprayer that she killed the neighbor with. Of course, the most spoilery part of all is the robot head. NECA has done an astonishing job of having all the little gears and lights. So much fine, techie detail, and it's been painted really well. Unlike the other heads though, this one doesn't seem to have any additional articulation. It does, however, have a couple of face plates. First up is what she just basically looks like underneath the silicone skin. You want to know how I got these scars? The second one is more battle damaged. This is after Gemma pulverizes her using Bruce's severed head. I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that the eyes are painted that way on purpose. Also, is it just me or does Megan have a real Pennywise thing going on? Of course, you can also take Megan's face off completely. And you see that peg hole? Let's just say Megan is screwed. But playability is more than what we were just talking about in the spoiler section, but can't talk about now because we're out of the spoiler section. It's also about how well your doll plays with others. I currently have most of my horror figures on display for Halloween, so with your blessing, I'm not going to be showing her off with most of these. That said, I know y'all would never forgive me if I didn't at least bring out Chucky. Kinda makes me wish I had Tiffany and Annabelle. For another pint-sized terror though, and here's Sam from Trick or Treat, and Santi from The Devil's Backbone. Full disclosure, I haven't seen that movie, I just got this figure for a custom I never got around to doing. Otherwise, for one more kid-sized figure, and here's Newt from Aliens. But for another modern horror character, and here's Pennywise from It, and Jackie Earle Haley Freddy from the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which also had a broken-off paper cutter blade. Is this where Blumhouse got that from? For your consideration, though, I can't help but wonder if Megan might not be a good base body for a comic-style baby doll from Batman the Animated Series. For a relative scale comparison, though, and here's Megan with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. And as always, here she is with Stealth Iron Man. Boy, howdy, do I want to make a joke right now, but I can't because it's spoilery. But if you saw the movie, you probably know what I'm thinking. With Megan being such a small character, NECA went really hard with the accessories. Coming, I'm sure, as a surprise to no one, for playability, I'm giving Megan 5 points. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. I found Megan at Target for $34.99. That's way better than the $10,000 they were going to charge for her in the movie. Joking aside, this killer doll is a killer value. For price, I'm giving Megan 5 points, averaging out to a very good total of 4.6 out of 5. For more 5 POA Ween videos, check out one of these, and until next time, play nice, have fun, and be spooky.